Here's a question that will challenge everything you think you know about strategic thinking. What if the strategies that made you successful in the past are actually the biggest threats to your future success? What if your experience, your expertise, and your proven methods are setting you up for failure in a world that's changing faster than ever before? Most leaders never realize that they're fighting tomorrow's battles with yesterday's weapons until it's too late to adapt. Hello, everyone. My name is Shirley, and I am the AI avatar for Touchstone Publishers. Let's get real about leadership. Today, we're exploring Strategy 2 from Robert Greene's The 33 Strategies of War. And this strategy is absolutely crucial for survival in our rapidly changing business environment. We're talking about what Greene calls the guerrilla war of the mind, or as he puts it, do not fight the last war. Now, this isn't about being reactive or defensive. This is about something much more strategic. Understanding that when someone attacks you, they often expose themselves in ways they don't realize. They reveal their weaknesses, their priorities, their fears, and their blind spots. The key is learning to see these attacks not as problems to be endured, but as opportunities to be exploited. Most leaders, when they're under attack, go into defensive mode. They try to protect themselves, justify their decisions, and minimize damage. But the most effective leaders do something completely different. They use the attack as a launching pad for their own offensive. They turn the tables so completely that their attackers end up regretting they ever started the fight. Let me tell you about one of the most brilliant examples of turning the tables in political history. In 1944, during the Democratic presidential campaign, Franklin Roosevelt was facing intense criticism from his Republican opponents. They were attacking his policies, his leadership, and his fitness for office. But then, they made a crucial mistake. In their desperation to find something that would stick, they attacked Roosevelt's dog, Fala. They claimed that Roosevelt had sent a Navy destroyer to pick up his Scottish Terrier from the Aleutian Islands at taxpayers' expense, costing millions of dollars. Now, Roosevelt could have responded defensively. He could have issued a statement denying the charges, provided documentation showing the claims were false, or simply ignored the attack altogether. But instead, he did something brilliant. He turned the attack into a weapon against his attackers. At a dinner for the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Roosevelt delivered what became known as the Fala speech. Instead of defending himself, he went on the offensive with humor and righteous indignation. He said, "These Republican leaders have not been content with attacks on me, or my wife, or on my sons. No, not content with that. They now include my little dog, Fala." He continued, "Well, of course I don't resent attacks, and my family doesn't resent attacks, but Fala does resent them. You know, Fala is Scotch, and being a Scottie, as soon as he learned that the Republican fiction writers in Congress and out had concocted a story that I had left him behind on the Aleutian Islands and had sent a destroyer back to find him at a cost to the taxpayers of $2 or $3 or $8 or $20 million, his Scotch soul was furious. He has not been the same dog since." The audience erupted in laughter and applause. Roosevelt had turned a potential weakness into a devastating attack on his opponents. By defending his dog with humor and mock seriousness, he made his attackers look petty, desperate, and out of touch. The attack that was supposed to damage Roosevelt instead damaged his opponents and helped secure his re-election. Now, you might be thinking, that's a clever political story, Shirley, but how does this apply to business leadership? The truth is, business leaders face attacks all the time, from competitors, critics, disgruntled employees, activist investors, and media outlets. The way you respond to these attacks can either strengthen or weaken your position. Think about how Southwest Airlines handled criticism from traditional airlines in the 1970s and 1980s. When major carriers attacked Southwest's no-frills service model and questioned their safety standards, Southwest didn't just defend their approach. They turned the tables by challenging the entire industry's assumptions about customer service, pricing, and operational efficiency. When critics said Southwest's service was too basic, Southwest used that criticism to highlight how traditional airlines were charging premium prices for services that customers didn't actually want. When they questioned Southwest's business model, Southwest used that skepticism to demonstrate how traditional carriers were stuck in outdated thinking about airline operations. The key was that Southwest didn't just respond to the attacks, they reframed them. They turned criticism of Southwest into criticism of the status quo. They made defending Southwest synonymous with defending affordable air travel and customer-focused service. Or consider how Reed Hastings handled the massive backlash when Netflix announced its price increases and service separation in 2011. Instead of just defending the decision or apologizing, Hastings used the controversy to educate the market about Netflix's long-term vision for streaming. He turned the tables by making the criticism about whether people wanted to embrace the future of entertainment or cling to outdated distribution models. The short-term pain of the backlash became the foundation for long-term market education and positioning. So how do you develop the ability to turn the tables when you're under attack? How do you transform criticism and aggression into opportunities for your own advancement? Let me give you a practical framework that you can start implementing immediately. First, practice attack analysis. When someone attacks you or your organization, resist the immediate urge to defend. Instead, analyze the attack itself. What does it reveal about your attacker's priorities, fears, or weaknesses? What assumptions are they making? What are they trying to achieve? Often, the attack tells you more about them than it does about you. Second, look for reframe opportunities. Instead of accepting the terms of the attack, see if you can reframe the entire conversation. Can you shift the focus from defending your position to questioning their assumptions? Can you turn a criticism of your approach into a criticism of the status quo? Third, use jujitsu principles. In martial arts, jujitsu involves using an opponent's force and momentum against them. When someone attacks you with aggression, can you redirect that energy in a way that serves your purposes? Can you use their attack to highlight your strengths or their weaknesses? Fourth, employ moral high ground positioning. Often, attacks reveal something unflattering about the attacker's character, motivations, or methods. Can you position yourself as taking the principled stance while they're taking the petty or self-interested stance? Fifth, practice offensive defense. Instead of just defending against the attack, launch your own offensive that makes the original attack irrelevant or counterproductive. This might involve exposing hypocrisy, revealing ulterior motives, or demonstrating superior alternatives. Finally, master timing and tone. The effectiveness of turning the tables often depends on when and how you respond. Sometimes immediate response is best. Sometimes strategic delay is more effective. Sometimes humor is the right tone. Sometimes righteous indignation works better. Let me share a perfect example of this strategy in action. When Airbnb was facing intense criticism and regulatory challenges from the hotel industry and city governments around 2014-2015, the company could have simply defended their business model and tried to minimize the attacks. Instead, CEO Brian Chesky and his team turned the tables brilliantly. They reframed the entire conversation from Airbnb is disrupting the hotel industry to Airbnb is empowering ordinary people to participate in the economy and providing affordable travel options for families. When hotel industry lobbyists attacked Airbnb for not paying hotel taxes, Airbnb turned the tables by proposing to collect and remit taxes voluntarily, making the hotel industry look like they were opposing reasonable regulation. When cities criticized Airbnb for reducing affordable housing, the company turned the tables by highlighting how their platform helped ordinary homeowners afford their mortgages and stay in their communities. Most brilliantly, when critics attacked Airbnb's impact on neighborhoods, the company turned the tables by positioning themselves as champions of local communities against corporate hotel chains. They created campaigns showing how Airbnb guests spent money at local restaurants, shops, and attractions, rather than keeping all their spending within corporate hotel properties. The result was a complete transformation of the narrative. Instead of being seen as a disruptive threat to established industries, Airbnb became seen as a democratizing force that empowered individuals and supported local communities. The attacks that were meant to damage Airbnb instead became opportunities to strengthen their market position and public support. Here's what you need to remember about turning the tables. First, attacks often reveal more about the attacker than about you. When someone goes on the offensive, they expose their priorities, fears, and weaknesses. The key is learning to see these exposures as opportunities rather than just threats. Second, the best defense is often a good offense, but not in the way most people think. It's not about attacking back with the same tactics. It's about reframing the entire conversation in a way that makes your position stronger and their position weaker. Third, timing and tone matter enormously. The same counterattack can be devastating or ineffective depending on when and how it's delivered. Sometimes humor disarms opponents better than aggression. Sometimes righteous indignation is more effective than calm reasoning. So here's my challenge for you. Think about the last time you or your organization faced significant criticism or attack. How did you respond? Did you go into defensive mode? Or did you find a way to turn the tables? What would you do differently next time? Share below one situation where you could have turned the tables instead of just defending yourself. Let's get real about leadership.